through an integrated approach in which the Islamic Affairs Department plays a crucial role in order to build a positive discourse, a discourse of peace. And as Allah said in the verses, we need to continue on entrenching development and security in the regional context that is filled with coexistence. Ladies and gentlemen, the hope that we are discussing is not just an intangible narrative, but this is a civilizational project that has legal foundations and the political will. And during these days, the proceedings will cover the diagnosis of the challenges facing peace and also entrenching the culture of hope. And we'll have scientific models that showcase that building of hope and peace is possible through pedagogical programs and demonstrating the link between the tolerance and water security and other social values, and also that is based on describing the crisis and finding the right solutions to them that are tailored according to a well-studied approach. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, allow me at the end to present my sincerest thanks to His Eminence Abdullah bin Bayya for all his scientific contribution to consolidate peace, and also allow me to hail the cooperation of the Abu Dhabi Forum and the brotherly relations between our country and the high leadership of His Excellency Mohammed Ghazwani and the United Arab Emirates, presided by the Sheikh Ahmed Zaid Al Nahyan, to the best interests of the two countries. I renew my warmest welcome and hoping that these proceedings will be crowned by positive findings in order to consolidate peace for Africa and for the whole world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency Minister of Culture and Islamic Studies in the Republic of Mauritania. Now I invite Dr. Ahmed Bouhali, Minister of Islamic Affairs in Tunisia. You have the floor, sir. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Gracious, prayers on our Prophet Muhammad, his kin and disciples. Excellency, Minister of Islamic Affairs of Mauritania, ministers, leaders, academicians. First of all, I want to start by thanking my brother, Minister of Islamic Affairs in Mauritania, for having invited me to be amongst you during this sixth conference. Thanks to God, I am in a country of research, science. You don't talk about science without mentioning the name of Mauritania. Thank God for this. As a matter of fact, my country, Tunisia, was the gate of Islam to the greater Maghreb, and all those days started in Qayrawan, and 27th of Hijrah, that is to say during the Rashidi Caliphs, Islam started in Tunisia. We have always called upon the people to adopt peace, fraternity, and brotherhood. And our president has always been for peace, brotherhood, and goodness among countries. God has created us as ummas and peoples, not to fight but to live, and differences are a complementarity rather than war. We, in my country, Tunisia, we believe in safety and peace, and Mauritania is our great partner. I wish all of us peace and prosperity. Collaboration between Tunisia and Mauritania is in its peak these years, thanks to the leadership of our two respective presidents who have spared no effort to promote brotherhood, friendship, and mutual assistance. In any case, I am all hope that this conference will be a source of great recommendations for our countries alike. I hope God can assist us, and thank you for this invitation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thank you, Excellency Minister of Foreign Affairs, of Islamic Affairs of Tunisia, Ahmed Bouhali, for these nice words. Now I call upon His Excellency Jack Sistine Dankara, Minister of Literacy, Education from Burkina Faso. You have the floor, sir. Excellency Minister of Religious Affairs and Original Education in Mauritania, Excellencies, Ministers of invited countries, dear guests, all protocol observed, dear participants. First of all, allow me to pass on to you our brotherly greetings of our people from Burkina Faso and our President, Captain Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, to his brother Mohammed Ould Ghazouani, President of Mauritania, and to the people and the government of Mauritania, and to all the participants of this African Conference on Peace. Allow me to translate and transfer to you my thanks to Sheikh Ben Baya, who has called upon this meeting to make Africa a country of peace, so that peace could reign all over Africa. It's a great honor for me to be once again at this conference with a strong dedication of sheikhs, ulama, and imams to take part in this conference on peace. I would like to seize this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency, the President of Chad, for the African Forum for Peace Prize that was bestowed upon him so that peace could reign in our sub-region. Burkina Faso, despite the problems we are facing because of terrorism, we are standing fast, and we are facing the different dissidents thanks to your support and prayers. Dear guests, dear participants, for us, education remains the main weapon we can use to change the world. That's exactly what one of our leaders used to say, namely Nelson Mandela. The pedagogy of social change starts at school. At the basis, we can go from the base to the peak, and this is what we are adopting in Burkina Faso. We have undertaken a great reform in our educational system so that we could adapt it to the African context. As we speak, the curriculum is teaching our customs, traditions, values, and our African identity. The school in Burkina Faso is a project where people are initiated to different skills. We want our kids to grow with African values, values of peace, so that our kids could grow today with the hope of giving to our African continent all the knowledge it needs to give to our continent peace so that people can live together in peace and harmony. This educational reform cannot succeed unless we are self-confident, and that's where we are here. That is to say, the title or the topic of this conference, the making of hope. Our country is very religious, believes in divine providence, and is in the great God. This belief can face up all challenges. If we are united, we are strong enough to vanquish, conquer all adversities. Men and women who believe in their nation, who believe in their faith, can fight any form of terrorism and any form of radicalism that could challenge our security and safety. In the conducting of our affairs and based on our strengths, we can do great things. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, I wouldn't finish my presentation without extending my greetings to Mr. Elvadikul Sidati, Minister of Islamic Studies and Original Education, for having facilitated and invited us to attend this conference. I want also to extend our thanks to our wise father for having initiated this conference on peace on Africa. Long live Africa, long live Burkina Faso, long live brotherhood among African countries. The nation or death as a motto will lead us to vanquish all ordeals and obstacles.
Now I call upon, thank you very much, Excellency, the Minister of Burkina Faso. And now I call upon Excellency Abdelrazak Kambougou, Secretary General of the Government, Leader of Muslims in Gabon. Please, you have the floor.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, and praise be to God. Excellency, Mr. the Minister of Islamic Affairs and Traditional Studies, Excellencies, Ministers, Excellency, the head of the delegation, dear scholars in the Islamic world, ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect to your esteemed titles and ranks, first of all, allow me to express our deepest gratitude to His Excellency, Mr. President Mohammed Ould Sheikh Al-Ghazwani, and to all the Mauritanian people for not only the warm welcome to actively take part to this conference, but also to all the attention from which we benefited since our arrival to Mauritania. I would like to thank as well His Excellency Abdullah bin Baya, His Eminence, who is relentlessly working to sustain this forum and to make it a real opportunity for the Islamic world to encounter each other. Ladies and gentlemen, with all due respect to your esteemed titles and ranks, all protocol observed, it is with a deep conviction that I'm addressing you now in my own name and also on behalf of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Bliss Beratar Oningema, and bearing the voice of the Islamic community in Gabon and also that of our Gabonese nation for the promotion of peace in our continent. Today's theme, Africa, hope as a horizon and the God's mercy as a pathway. My predecessors have already mentioned this. It is not just a formula, a random one, but rather it is an affirmation that our continent, although facing so many challenges, it is bearing hope. And as the Holy Quran says in Yusuf, in the 87th verse, meaning of the verse, we should not despair from the mercy of God. So hope is not just an escapism from reality, but this is a lucid response that we do have as Africans, and that we can make use of our resources and the right determination in order to build a better future. Africa is a continent that has so many horizons and possibilities, and the Gabon believes deeply that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the active presence of justice, of solidarity, and of mutual respect. We do consider Africa not as a crisis continent, but rather as a young continent, a vibrant one, rich with its resources, natural ones, and also of its dynamic youth that is aspiring at stability, prosperity, and dignity. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, meaning those who do not have mercy in them cannot expect a mercy. This wisdom should guide our steps at the continent. Mercy is not a weakness. It is a strength that can transform people and set the conditions of reconciliation and rebuilding and reconstruction in Africa. We do need this God's mercy that appeases the hurt hearts, that heals the wounds of war and unites divided people. We wanted to share with you 4 main challenges that require our action in an immediate way. First of all, the multidimensional security that is ravaging our continent from Sahel to the Horn of Africa. Our brothers and sisters live in fear, facing terrorism. and also inter-community conflict and civil wars. We cannot tolerate that weapons rule where wisdom should be in place. Second of all, the humanitarian crisis and the structural poverty that persists. 2 million children, African children, do not have access of high quality or just quality education, as my predecessors said, namely the Minister for Burkina Faso. While millions of women and children are not well nourished, we cannot just base or build a sustainable peace on misery. Third of all, the continuous lack of stability that deepens gaps between the governors and the governed, and also the unconstitutional changes and the chaotic transformations, because they lack the element of justice. We need to have regional standards in terms of governance, democracy, and also the rule of law. Fourth, the environmental and climatic challenges that threaten our future. Africa, that has the least contributed to climatic change, is facing the consequences and ramifications of those changes. The desertification and other changes are leading to forcible migration and displacement. We are sharing 4 fundamental principles for African peace. Gabon is suggesting the occasion that was given to us in Africa of emergence within the framework of solidarity based on 4 main principles, the first of which that is inspired by the 10th verse of Surah the Holy Book affirms that the believers are brothers, and this brotherhood should be manifested by concrete mechanisms of continental solidarity and help states in crisis share experiences, mobilize resources, and also build positive partnerships, and also to develop in a very dynamic way this South-South cooperation. The second principle is the shared responsibility. We do refuse the idea according to which only external powers are responsible for our inner problems. We do recognize that there are so many injustices of the international system and the neo-colonial exploitation, but then our first responsibility is towards ourselves. The Prophet, may peace be upon him, says, meaning, each one amongst you is a shepherd. Each one amongst you is a shepherd, and will be asked about the followers. So the African leaders need to accept this official responsibility. And the third principle, the entrenchment in our spiritual values beyond our religious faiths. We have common values that are deeply entrenched in faith and human dignity indeed, and social justice and mercy and solidarity and respect of the creation and the creator. Those values need to set the foundations of our continental project. And if you allow me, in a nutshell, we need to have a concrete resolution that can be measurable and abide by the laws of metrics. The era of rhetoric is beyond and behind us. We need to identify a continental pact in order to avoid the systematic recourse to power, in order to settle all the issues through peaceful means. A court of justice in Africa cannot deal with issues in a forcible way. We need to have a peaceful mediation, and we are suggesting a continental fund for inclusive development. Those natural resources will support the development of the most vulnerable countries, and we need to adopt a democratic governance charter and to respect the constitutional limits, and also to protect the independence of states and the freedom of speech and of press, and also to hold free elections and to transform the fight against terrorism towards the fields of education and employment. And the fifth resolution, to set a continental agreement or convention for the protection of the environment. The African states just recognize their responsibility, and they need to adopt strict policies in order to fight desertification and to have a sustainable management of water and a steady transition towards renewable energies, and to strengthen the role of women and the young people in the process of peace. We do recognize that 10% of the African population has less than 30 years old, and we commit to ensure the significant participation of women and young people in the decision-making processes and conflict resolution. This will bring us to a transformative vision of Africa within a decade. And Africa united in this way will have a robust economic growth and an inclusive one, and it will multiply 3 times the wealth of the continent, and it will create a middle class of Africans, of experts that will rival any other region in the world. So intra-African business is just 15% of our exchanges, will go beyond 40%, creating millions of jobs in industrialization, local transformation of resources, and diversification of resources will contribute to our economic sovereignty. On the security level, in Africa without wars and civil will reduce by 80% the flows of refugees, and the funds dedicated to the military can be used in health and infrastructure. In 15 years, we will get rid of terrorism, not only by these measures, but also by creating perspectives of a decent life. In Africa that is restoring its forests and its environment will be a well of carbon for Africa, and African women will be recognized leaders, and will multiply the efficiency and efficacy of our policies, and the young Africans, well educated and employed, will be engines of innovation at the continental level, and will create a new economy based on technology, sustainability and inclusivity. The Gabon is committed to be at the forefront in implementing these resolutions. Under the leadership of our president, our nation will contribute to the different initiatives in terms of mediation, the strengthening of its democracy, at the very heart of our ecological transition in Africa. Therefore, we would like to call for concrete actions and tangible ones. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here in Nouakchott in this historical moment for a very important reason, and the Holy Quran is reminding us. The Quran says, meaning, obey Allah and His Messenger, and do not have recourse to disputes, because it will weaken you. So now we need to move to concrete actions and to a firm commitment and a firm determination. And our African people gave birth to wonderful civilizations all over the world. But then we're still lagging behind. Our continent produced philosophers and thinkers. We inherited a rich land, a dynamic youth, and we were authors of so many inventions that are not even known. We have no reason for Africa to be poor, divided, and unstable. We need to make of this conference the beginning of a new era, an era of an active hope, of concrete mercy, and also of brotherhood. We need to leave Nouakchott with firm resolutions and measurable commitments that can be implemented as soon as possible. Gabon is proud to be African, to be Muslim, and proud of all the services in the continent, and we are calling for embarking on this journey together and to make of Africa what it has always been destined to be, the cradle of civilizations, the house of hope, and also the hub of hope for the whole humanity. Help us, guide our, and give us the strength to implement this vision. Wassalamu alaikum.
Great thanks to His Excellency Abdulrazak Kambogo, and I invite now His Excellency Augustin Yankalahouti, Deputy Minister in the Central Republic of Africa. You are welcome to the panel. Okay, now I invite Mr. Mohammed Thani Idris, the President of the National Council of Immigrants and School Dropouts in Nigeria. You have the floor. In the name of Allah the Merciful, prayers on our prophets.
Guest, kindly permit me to apologize for my inability to get my speech ready because I wasn't informed that I was going to deliver a speech today. Neither was I asked to prepare for a presentation. However, I want to thank you very much for providing us the opportunity to interface with you and discuss other interesting issues around the peace in our dear continent. I supposed to deliver my presentation in English, as it is the lingua franca of our country, but having seen these faces, kindly permit me to switch to Arabic language. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
We want to welcome and thank the state of Mauritania, people and government for their warm welcome and hospitality. We want to renew our commitments to our Sheikh Abdullah bin Beya, who has been our professor and teacher. I had the honor of meeting him and listen to him today. I want to thank the State of Emirates, who has always spared no effort to give peace, prosperity, and development to our African continent. You too are to be thanked for being here with us. It goes without saying that anybody in relationship with Nigeria by proximity, that in the last 10 years we had serious security problems like Boko Haram, kidnapping cases, and this invites us all to look closely at the situation, especially that we, together with you, this elite of academics, when they meet in meetings and conferences like today's, we want to share what's happening in our countries, which could be beneficial to all our countries. Boko Haram situation is mainly the cause of a misunderstanding of the Holy Book and some of our precepts. And this event of Boko Haram has caused serious damage. We have 50,000 kids who are orphans today, and there are also other pieces of news that need not be mentioned. And if this means anything, it means that ignorance is what makes these terrorists reign. And thanks to the work of our current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has created an observatory that is working today to return these kids to school. Statistics shows that more than 18 million kids aged 7 and 10 years who have left school are gradually returning, and those who are studying the Holy Book are no less than 30 million. And you know that Nigeria has a large group of people who know the Holy Book by heart. We said that we have 20 million people, and these Quranic schools needs to new changes and amendments. That's why we have created this institution to cater to those who have dropped out of school. And thank God, we aspire all together, like our president, and he has promised the people of Nigeria that in 5 years from today, there will be no Nigerian kid dropping out of school. And as you also know, the role of Nigeria in establishing peace and stability in Africa. And you know that we Nigerians, especially our army, has played a great role in the Liberian conflict. So I believe that this conference will, if God is willing, give birth to some great ideas that will promote peace and prosperity, especially with the help and the leadership of Sheikh Ben Beya. Thank you very much for your help. Thank you, Mr. Ali Idris. We continue, and I remind you that at the end of this session, we will inaugurate the Emirati Mauritania exhibition, and also lunch is going to be served right after this session in this very building. Now, I'm going to invite His Excellency Jude Drummer, the delegate of Islamic Affairs of Senegal. You have the floor, sir. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the graceful, prayers on our Prophet Muhammad, his kins and disciples. First of all, our greetings to His Excellency, the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, to our Sheikh, our leader, Abdullah bin Baya, President of this conference, to the Minister of Islamic Affairs and Original Education in Mauritania, the Excellencies, Ministers, Ambassadors, academics, researchers, attendees, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In my name, and on behalf of the state or the Republic of Senegal, we want to congratulate the Islamic Republic of Mauritania for hosting yet again this conference where major religious actors meet to discuss, debate the question of peace from a religious standpoint. And if this means anything, it means that the leadership of this country is aware of the spiritual, religious, and social role that Mauritania has played for centuries. The relics and academics of Shingit have impacted the world through their travels around Africa. And Mauritania has been the Mecca of education, especially for their better and insightful learning of the Islamic doctrines. Further to this, the Shingiti heritage has been one of the streams that was the source of inspiration to Islam's. So our researchers and academics found that in the Shingiti heritage cannot be done without, can only be a source, what we call in majalis, the majlis, and in every fields of knowledge we find the Shingiti inputs in conjugation, in language, syntax, and style, and literature. Ladies and gentlemen, this regional conference held in this beautiful country is a confirmation of the historic role and centrality of culture that has and will remain one of the elements of this beautiful country. For this, we want to thank our Sheikh Allama bin Baya Abdullah, who is like a satellite shining with knowledge and insight. And here in Senegal, we declare from this panel that we believe fully in this project. We encourage it because it is a source of peace for a religious behavior that can only reinforce security and good governance of religion and religious principles. And if this means anything, it can be also in the visit of our minister, who was our prime minister, who has been to Dubai to see what has been done in this conference and to see what we can share, what we can learn from each other. This recognition is not coming out of the blue, but it is the result of objective thinking, especially after exchanging our ideas with our colleagues and friends who work either in the Kingdom of Morocco or in Dubai. This project is in line with our new orientations. Since the beginning of this new government, we have a new vision when it comes to the relationship between the state and the religion. And this new orientation has given birth to a new directorate whose role is to manage the religious affairs. And 2 months ago, this directorate has been promoted to become a delegation, or this shows the importance and how important as an institution in promoting its reform and stress its centrality as stipulated in its decree. Promote and the Quranic schools, promote and preserve the material and immaterial heritage, and hold contacts with the Sufis and others to promote the culture of dialogue, the culture of respect, mutual respect, cohabitation, fighting radicalism, and any form of hatred of the other. Senegal regards this Mauritania as a strategic partner to exchange expertise in different fields like religion, in training and in development. One thing I want to mention is that if some people are concerned in creating war schools or war colleges, we in Senegal, we are making sure to create colleges or schools of peace where people can aspire to more social justice and fight of corruption. What is sure and what people agree upon is to cling to our social, cultural, and religious aspect and create a spirit of hope. The Islamic world can only recover its stability and efficient presence in diplomatic and scientific and civilizational spheres only if we work and strengthen our principles. The different exchanges between our countries, Mauritania and Senegal, have allowed us, as you may remember, the first visit outside the country was to Mauritania. The first visit of our parliament and prime minister was also to Mauritania. And if this means anything, it means how we work in good neighborhood. And I close my speech by thanking the Islamic Republic of Mauritania people, government, and leadership in strengthening and promoting the culture of values and dialogue for peace locally, regionally, and worldly. And peace be upon you.
Thank you, Excellency, General Directors of the Islamic Affairs in Senegal. Now I call upon Excellency J. Shafi, the Counselor of the President of the Republic of the Comoros Islands, for the diplomatic affairs. Sorry. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to Allah and peace be upon the Prophet and his companions. Oh Allah, we have no knowledge but what you bestow upon us. He is the greatest in the heavens and on earth. Allow me to present to you my address in the French language in order to allow a great deal of our participants to follow it without any kind of interpretation. Excellency Minister of Islamic Affairs of the Republic of Mauritania, Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Minister, Excellency, honorable scholars and ulema, distinguished guests. Assalamu alaikum. Allow me at the outset to convey to you the greetings of His Excellency Azali Assoumani, President of the Comoros Islands, and also from the people of the Comoros Islands. And afterwards, I would like to thank the authorities and also the Mauritanian people, His Excellency, the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mohammed Sheikh Ould Al-Ghazouani, and His Eminence, may God preserve him, Dr. Ben Baya, who is the President of this conference and also President of the Abu Dhabi Forum for Peace. So I'd like to thank Mauritania leadership and people for their warm hospitality. As usual, on this blessed country of Mauritania, Africa has hope as horizon and mercy as a pathway. This is the theme of this African conference from the 10th to the 12th February 2026, Africa having hope as a horizon in order to implement and bring it to concrete terms. This hope, we need to have it as a compass forever. It needs a political commitment filled with energy and mutual trust, under efficient governance and justice effort, and a total inclusiveness. And to place hope as a horizon is to recognize the potential of Africa. It's through the wealth of its soil and its young population and dynamic and innovative, creative one, Africa embarked on the right track. We need to consolidate institutions and also the implementation of the AFCFTA, which is the common market, South-South cooperation, and also multilateralism and the strengthening of good governance and the collective awareness as to the crisis management and conflict resolution. Excellency, distinguished guests, 17 February 2026, in one of the 4 islands of the Comoros Islands commemorate the agreement signed on 2001 with under the observation of the international community. A quarter of a century later on, these diplomatic and political efforts of a people that opted for dialogue instead of violence, negotiation instead of confrontation, and unity instead of divide and division. The capacity of a country to transform crisis into an opportunity based on institutional and moral institutions. The Fomoni agreement was possible thanks to the mobilization of civil society, political forces, young people, religious authorities, women, and most importantly, thanks to the efforts of His Excellency, the President of the Comoros Islands from 1999 to 2006, the former president. This was based on listening and collective wisdom and the research for consensus. And even beyond the political aspects, this agreement has a spiritual and human significance and reminds us of universal truth. Peace is not just an institutional arrangement, it is also a moral and collective commitment. It is a token of trust in the dignity of the other and also of the spiritual inheritance. We learned that reconciliation is a token of mercy, a people that accepts to forgive in order to better build a future. As it was reminded by the religious tradition, peace is a blessing bestowed by Allah to those who are righteous and patient. 25 years later, this lesson is still valid with the international scene that is in a turmoil. The colonial experience demonstrated that only mutual respect and political inclusion and trust can build a sustainable future for communities. The political horizon that is filled with hope means investing in the youth, science, health, regional and international cooperation. And to make of mercy a diplomatic pathway means to humanize further Africa and to focus on the most vulnerable and to put ethics in all public action. Africa is moving forward with the trust that its fate is linked to that of the rest of the world. This does not constitute a threat. It is rather an opportunity for an international balance that is more just and fair, based on sustainable development and based on the respect of the sovereign choices and equity. This way, Africa contributes to the universal stability. May Allah make of this common commitment a token of success for our continent, and to make of more consciousness the lighthouse for our decisions. And thank you very much. Thank you, Excellency. Ahmed Jai Shafi, Counselor of the President of the Comoros Islands. Now, finally, we would like to call upon the representative of the Ministry of Endowment, the Egyptian one, Dr. Osama Azhari, who could not make it with us. We would like to invite his representative, Dr. Mohammed Rajab Khalifa, President of the Central Directorate within the Ministry of Endowment, to join us.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, prayers on our Prophet, his kin and disciples. Excellencies, ministers, ambassadors, academics, scholars, guests, attendees, I am delighted to extend to you the greetings of my minister, Mohammed Al-Azhari, who has asked me to sit in for him during this conference held under the title of Africa and the Making of Hope, with the patronage, or under the patronage of Mr. President of Mauritania and Mr. Sheikh bin Beya. God says, فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ رَبٌّ كَرِيمٌ مُنْعِمٌ بَرٌّ لَطِيفٌ لا يزداد على كثرة الحوائج إلا جودا وسخاء وإكراما فكم من بلية كشفها وكم من دعوة أجابها وكم من سجدة وكم من كربة فرجها وكم من مسكين أعطاه وكم من فقير أغناه. So please believe in this godly promise, because God will never fail his promises. Hope is the greatest thing that we could aspire to. Let's get closer to God by having good intentions, so that we could be more and more civilized. Dear guests, this conference under the title of Reinforcing African Peace, Africa and the Making of Hope. Africa is not the source of crisis, but a source of values and possibilities. And if history has burdened it by colonization, God has given it a better future of hope as a civilizational engine to promote humanity. And that's how the Quranic verse says, لا تيأسوا من رحمة الله. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reinforcement of African peace does not come through agreements, but by building bridges, cooperation, ties, social, scientific, to promote a culture of justice and amending and changing our religious discourse or narrative to build a better civilization, to build a better society. And here comes the role of religious institutions to come up with a narrative that unifies, that unites and doesn't divide, that opens windows for hope and not close them. Religion has been and will always be a force of peace if well understood, well assimilated with a religion that teaches the human being that his brother and sister are partners, not enemies. We need to invest in the human factor before investing in the infrastructure. Build economic, religious, and regional cooperation. Egypt, under the leadership of President Sisi and in religious and national institutions, especially Al-Azhar, believes firmly that Africa as part of Egypt and that the peace of Africa is part of Egyptian peace. We, for moderation, the establishment of cohabitation, and I want to extend my thanks to the President of the Republic, Islamic Republic of Mauritania, the greetings of my President, and congratulate the President of the Republic of Chad for being bestowed the prize of peace. And to close, we need to be callers of peace, builders of stability, work together for a nation that promotes civilization. And I close to thank the government, the leadership, the people of Mauritania for what they have deployed in efforts, hoping that God can help us to be the leaders that our respective people aspire to. Thank you very much. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, Excellency, dear guests, dear callers for peace. Now we invite you to come behind the panelists to take a family picture.
صورة جماعية نختم بها وبعدين استراحة الغداء ثم نعم